Shush! It's time for The Shelf. Whangarei District Libraries Radio on Beagle Radio. Oh!
Tēnā koutou katoa. No mai whakaronga mai ki The Shelf. He punua pa oho mai I ngā wharipukapuka I Whangarei I Beagle Radio 88.1 FM. I pahuri koutou I ngā hōtaka me ahotu ki ngā wharipukapuka I YouTube.
Hello everyone, welcome to The Shelf, a podcast for Whangarei District Libraries on Beagle Radio 88.1 FM and streaming online at beagleradio.co.nz. To catch up on the episodes you might have missed, subscribe to the Whangarei District Libraries YouTube channel. My name's Eddie, I'm a customer services librarian, and today I'm here with...
Karlie, I'm the ICT librarian at Whangarei Central. All right.
Yeah.
Cool. Good to be back in the studio.
It is, yes. And what have you been reading lately, Karlie?
I have been rereading Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen,
Never heard of it.
Classic for a reason. Oh, you've got that's the one book I wish, like, if you could reread for the first time.
Oh,
but I read it for the first time when I was 12.
Oh, cool.
And then I read it a lot in my young adulthood.
Yes.
But I haven't read it in maybe like the better part of like a decade or something.
Wow.
So I'm rereading it because I've been rewatching the 1995 miniseries.
Miniseries?
Yeah,
I don't
it's Colin
remember that.
Firth. It's BBC.
Okay.
It's very good. But the reason I've been rewatching / rereading is because I watched The Other Bennet Sister.
Oh yeah.
On
Wasn't that
what
cool?
was that, on TVNZ? It was so good.
Yeah, I was ambivalent about it partway through, but by the third episode I was hooked.
Yeah.
And because I got to fess up here, I've never read Pride and Prejudice in its completeness because I just can't get through it. Mrs. Eddie has read and enjoyed it.
Yeah.
My daughter has read and enjoyed it. I just can't get past a certain amount. But yeah, really loved the Emma Thompson film of it back in the 90s.
Oh, okay.
I think it was Emma Thompson and Colin Firth, is that right?
Colin Firth, yeah, who was in the BBC series. I think Emma Thompson was in Sense and Sensibility.
I might be
or something
thinking
like
of that one.
Same author.
Yeah.
But The Other Bennet Sister is sort of a reimagining from one of the Lizzie's Quiet Sisters.
The lesser known,
the lesser known, and they redo that whole storyline for her. But I wanted to reread Pride and Prejudice so I could go and read. I wanted to read that first before reading The Bennet Sister.
Yes, because it's based on a book. Yeah, I saw that.
So then I can have the like context for everything again.
Exactly.
Yeah, how about you? What have you been reading?
I've been reading a book called Spies and Other Gods by James Wolff, who is a British author who I've read. This is the fourth book of his I've read. I haven't quite finished yet. He is actually a former spy.
Oh, wow.
So his name is not actually James Wolff, it's a pseudonym.
Cool.
He probably could be compared with John le Carré of Smiley fame. Definitely his first three were very gritty, very dark, and how do I put it? Thought-provoking. Yeah. This one, he's gone the other extreme. He's taken a leaf out of Mick Herron's book, I think, the guy who does what's that series called? Slow Horses. I don't know if you've heard of that.
I've heard of that.
Gary Oldman.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's taken a chunk of humour, and he's also kept the le Carré thing to an extent, but it's actually a lot of fun, and it's quite, for a spy novel, it's quite light reading. Yeah. And all sorts of bonkers things happen. So I'm surprisingly different from what I expected, but in a good way. So I've just about devoured it in the last 2 days. Oh, cool. And I'll probably be finished by tomorrow morning. So it's got me, all the way thinking, who is it? Who is the devious one here? Who's really behind this? What's really happening?
Oh, that sounds so fun.
Yeah, so it's really fun. I've been enjoying that. You're listening to The Shelf, a radio show for Whangarei District Libraries on Beagle Radio 88.1 FM. That was Pomp and Circumstance by Edward Elgar, which introduces our next topic very neatly, as does this small snippet from Lewis Carroll's Through the Looking Glass. "The time has come," the walrus said, "to talk of many things, of shoes and ships and sailing wax, of cabbages and kings." So Karlie and I thought we'd have a wee discussion about the monarchy, since just being King Charles's birthday, and its relevance to the world and to New Zealand. And I'd like to start by fessing up and saying I have had a very close encounter with monarchy.
Oh, what happened?
In 1977, I think it was, this Queen's Silver Jubilee. She came to New Zealand as part of the Empire. And my school, I was in primary school at the time, went to see her at Auckland Domain.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and it was packed. Anyway, she walked around the middle of the domain, and we were all behind the barriers, as you just like you see on TV. And where my classes were parked up, were standing, it was absolutely jam-packed, and you couldn't get close to see her. So I got in my 10-year-old head, "Oh, I'm going to run around until the crowd thins out, and then I'll get really up close and personal." And I got more up close and personal than I expected, because I actually got so close to her that I was able to reach my hand across the barrier and shake her big gloved hand.
No way.
Queen Elizabeth II.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, it was quite a treat for a 10-year-old.
Yeah, and a cool memory. You remember it to this day.
Exactly. Yeah. It felt a bit strange when 3 years later I became a punk rocker and started singing the anti-monarchy song "God Save the Queen." I felt a little bit uncomfortable about that. What about you? You've been looking into our own royalty a little bit.
Yeah, I just thought it was cool to see last month that the Māori Queen Te Arikinui Queenie Ngā Waihono Iti Po met King Charles, and they were talking about, I think they were meeting for the first time actually.
Yeah.
And there were discussions, I quote, to have focused on environmental leadership, Indigenous perspectives, and shared efforts to respond to growing global social challenges.
Yeah.
And their meeting recognised the long relationship between the kingitanga and the crown, while also marking the beginning of a new era of leadership. And that was taken from an RNZ article, but it was well covered at the time. So I just thought that was really cool. Something I do respect about King Charles is that he cares about the environment. He's a climate activist.
I know, and what a great, with him and David Attenborough being like the older generation that are leading the charge in a lot of ways in that field. And yeah, it's great. Queenie's dad had a really good relationship apparently with King Charles. Yeah. And it's great to see them building on that. And she also met Prince William. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, there was a few things. I also had a little chuckle over King Charles addressing the Congress of the joint meeting of Congress in the United States, and what's their parliament called? The White House.
Yes.
Yeah, which was quite interesting. It was the 250th anniversary of America's independence from Britain, and I actually went to the official royal website and downloaded a copy of his speech. And if I could just quote a few things that King Charles III said.
Please.
One of them is, he's talking about the Declaration of Independence, and then he says, "And for all that time, our destinies as nations have been interlinked. As Oscar Wilde said, we really have everything in common with America nowadays, except, of course, language." That great little stab at the in a very humorous way. He also said, "Standing here today, it's hard not to feel the weight of history on my shoulder, because the modern relationship between our two nations and our own peoples spans not merely 250 years, but over 4 centuries. He said, "I come here today with the highest respect for the United States Congress, the citadel of democracy, created to represent the voice of all American people, to advance sacred rights and freedoms." And he really hammered home that, all American people. And later on, he goes to talk about people of all race and creed and background being true Americans. He's really quite, diplomatically addressing some of the tough issues that America are facing up to. He also said, he brought up Ukraine. He said that we need to have an unyielding resolve to defend the Ukraine and her courageous people, and that it's in order to secure a truly just and lasting peace. Then he, much as with Queenie, he went on to talk about the disastrously melting ice caps
Yes.
in the Arctic. And he didn't say, if you believe in that, or, some people think. He stated it as a fact, which
Scientific
is something
fact,
that
yes.
this current government in the
Yes.
States is
Yeah.
so about. So good on him, good on King Charles for that.
Yeah.
And on the subject of King Charles, as well as me having a close encounter with his mother, my father had a very close encounter with King Charles himself.
Really? When was
when
this?
he was Prince Charles.
Yep.
And I've written a poem about it, if you would allow me to read that to you.
Yes, please.
It's called The Heir of the King. During the post-war unease of the 1950s, Britain and her allies agreed never to get caught short, ever again. So, amongst thousands of others, they drafted my father when barely out of his teens. I have a photo of him in uniform, looking scarily like teenaged me. He was assigned to the Coldstream Guards. An enormous bearskin cap obscured all trace of fear in his young, familiar face. On a day when tourists at Buckingham Palace fired off snapshots, Dad stood tall at the sentry box as a certain child added to the chaos. Said child had been having a lark, ducking outside the royal front yard, then ducking swiftly back in again. Every time the terrible child placed a foot outside the palace gates, Dad had to stand at attention and salute, because the cheeky chap was His Grace, Prince Charles. Out in, attention, at ease, attention, at ease. Oh, to seize that regal rascal and give his neck a squeeze. Then a royal roar that shook both soldier and child to their cores resounded from beyond the gates. They turned and cast fearful looks towards the lion of a man who swore, "By Jove, boy!" Yes, Prince Philip pounced upon his son and bestowed on him a mighty clout across his ear before marching the wayward royal back in. When I heard this tale, I wondered if the boy, who would become Charles III, kept on receiving one clout after another, year after year after year, resulting in our gracious, sagacious king's frankly outstanding ears.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. I would be clapping if I wasn't holding the microphone. Oh, that was so good.
Yeah, that
oh,
was
wow, how
fun.
hilarious.
Yeah, Dad used to love telling that story as well. One of his better army stories.
Yeah.
So
the
yeah,
cheeky prince.
the cheeky prince, yes. So yeah, that concludes our section on the King's birthday.
Cool. And going into the next section, I thought, we thought we should play a little bit of the heritage talk that happened last week, I believe, at the library on Bishop Pompallier.
Yes.
This was a talk by Adam Cutforth, who takes us on Jean-Baptiste Pompallier's remarkable posthumous journey from his hometown in France back to the Hokianga.
Pompallier being who our school up here is named after.
Yeah, and speaking of the school, I took a little thing from the website just to explain who he was. So Jean-Baptiste Pompallier, who lived from 1801 to 1871, was a French Catholic missionary who became the first Catholic bishop of New Zealand, arriving here in 1838.
That was a while ago.
Yeah, it was a while ago. So he established the Catholic Church in New Zealand. Pompallier learned to speak Māori and worked to establish positive relationships with Māori communities while also serving European Catholic immigrants at the time. Bishop Pompallier was present at the signing of the Treaty of Waitangi in 1840, where he advocated for religious freedom protections, and his remains lie in St. Mary's Church at Motuti in the Hokianga. So I think we'll go ahead and Adam Cutforth can take us on the journey back in time.
Thank you, Monique. Kia ora tātou. Ko whatetiri te maunga, ko orowhara te awa, no whangarei ahau, ko Cutforth tōku whānau, e ko Adam tōku ingoa. I'm very happy to be here to speak with you today and to explore this interesting topic. If any of you are curious about building your own pepeha, which is what I just did, I would draw your attention to this excellent site here that will produce one for you based on the information you give it. And you can even print it out, have it framed, and why not give it to a family member as a gift? And no, I'm not a shareholder of this site. So what are we going to do today? I'm going to take you on a journey. First, we're going to explore the question of why Pompallier, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about a Kiwi, a classic Kiwi. You guessed it's me, abroad, and what I was doing there. How I had a first brush with Pompallier and his hikoi from France to New Zealand. Then I discovered that we were almost neighbours. And then we're going to dive into a little bit more about Pompallier, his works, the good, the bad, and the ugly, perhaps, just briefly, as a doorway to understanding why in 2001, 2002, when he was brought back to New Zealand by people of the Hokianga, amongst others, why that hikoi is of such significance. And then we're going to finish with a celebration of the power of belonging. At the end of the day, I think that was a symbolic act, bringing him back to rest in New Zealand. So Pompallier, or Pompallier, as we say in French, there are traces all over the New Zealand landscape. You can see two of them here, the wonderful Pompallier College in Monu, and you can also see the Mission House, probably the best known mark on our landscape. Who here has visited the Mission House? I thought it would. Yep, that's great. Just about everybody. You probably know as much about Pompallier as I do. So I always believed until I set foot in it a few years ago that it was where he lived, but it was not. Of course, it was an industrial site, a place of great work and skill in order to fulfill the mission of the Marist brothers and Pompallier who managed them. So my question here is, Pompallier, lots of traces on the New Zealand landscape. We drive past them, but is he invisible? That's the question. Certainly for me he was. When I was at school, Pompallier College was the enemy on the hill, you know, and didn't really think much about it. Now, just a word about history. My favorite historian is Yuval Noah Harari, an Israeli historian who's written some absolute blockbusters that bring relevance to the history of humanity and before to current times. As he says here, history is a very complex and unexpected process, whether it's as we're living it, and things can happen all over the shot, or indeed when you're analysing it. You don't know what you're going to find, and much of what you say about it depends on your own personal journey. So we're all historians in a way, but I do put this disclaimer: I am not a historian. I have not trained as a historian. I've trained, as Monique mentioned, as a lawyer, as an arts graduate as well. So I'm a person of the word and of the story. So I'm going to tell you more of a story than anything today, and I hope you can bear with me. So, disclaimer, I am not a historian. However, I believe strongly in this concept. I am a student of serendipity, which, if you don't know, and you probably do, is discovering something while you happen to be looking for something else. And serendipity, if you let it into your life, it's like a dog. It never leaves you. It follows you around, and that's been my experience. And it's a recipe, or it's an ingredient for a very interesting life. Before I go any further, I'd just like to say a word in praise of libraries. When the idea of working on this topic and bringing it to you today was raised by the library and people in the library, and Monique in particular, I dove into the library and I discovered all of the resources. And in fact, in the Northland room, which we have taken into thanks to the joys of modern technology, you can see all kinds of things. And I was drawn to what you can see here, which is the Fidelita yearbook of the Whangarei Boys High School. Libraries are keepers of record, artifacts and first-hand accounts. Libraries are repositories of ideas, including the ones we don't necessarily agree with. Our librarians are nurturers of stories and imagination, and advocates of learning and inquiry and self-betterment. Inside the Northern Room, as well as taking a walk down memory lane to my old school, Whangarei Boys High School, for the several years that I was there, and I acknowledge Mr. Clemo, who's here, who was a senior member of staff when I was at Boys High School. So if you want some stories about me afterwards, feel free to talk to Tony. As well as consulting Boys High School, I was able to consult the Pompallier papers. It's a translation of the bishop's own account of his discovery in New Zealand and his works. I was also able to peruse a unique piece of heritage, which consists of the cataloguing of every church in Te Tai Tokoro. And there are many, many churches. So there are unique documents in this room, and I really recommend it to you. And of course, a library is nothing without that fiercest and tenderest of creatures, the librarian. First, fierce because the work of librarians is to be the guardian of so much knowledge which requires order and effort, painstaking. Tender because their fiercest tendencies will inevitably be subdued by the deep caring and nurturing spirit that they possess when they see anyone in the library pursuing the goals of betterment, distraction and amusement, and they will help you and encourage you on your journey. Although her fierce side, which I know well, will no doubt chastise me for doing so, I have to mention one librarian in particular, the librarian whose hands you can see here actually, my wife Swazik. Normally such a reference would be unnecessary, except here in the arc of my storytelling I have to mention her because she is part of the reason why Pompallier ever came to pique my curiosity any more than any other figure of New Zealand's past. You see, in the course of my own voyage of discovery in 1999, which was a very late OE in my late 20s, back to old Europe, I unexpectedly and serendipitously met a woman sitting in my allocated seat on an aeroplane bound for Paris. You can read this story, semi-fictionalized, but it's based on fact, here in this website, Frictions, a literary platform which is founded by a dear friend of mine, Walid Rashidi, an author and a very able consultant and man of letters. And it explores, as the name suggests, friction or frictions, the many tensions and differences in contemporary society. So you can read the story there. So jump forward a couple of years, and meeting Swazik led me to living here. In the space that you can see here in central Paris, which is kind of an oval form, I spent 19 years of my adult life. I learned French pretty much from scratch here, no comment on the quality of French teaching at Boys High School. I lived in several different neighborhoods, including Montmartre, where Saint Denis lost his head, one of the early martyrs, and reportedly picked it up, washed it in a fountain, and walked north with it in hand before he stopped, placed it on the ground, and that is where the town of Saint Denis is, north of Paris, and it is also where France's kings and queens are buried, and the place of the stadium Saint-Denis, where the All Blacks in France battle it out regularly. I worked a few hundred meters from the Eiffel Tower. I had many parties and excursions with a group called the France-New Zealand Association, or l'Association France-Nouvelle-Zélande. I dabbled as an amateur historian, writing this book about a New Zealand soldier in the First World War who fought on the Western Front, amongst other places, and visited Paris like I did. It's in the library if you want it, or if you want to read it. Our 4 children were born here, and they were educated, and I eventually came to feel so at home that I became a French citizen, shortly before we left actually, which was symbolically quite a strong moment for me to be able to say I left my home to come home. It's a little bit of a weird experience, but as you can probably tell, I love this country like my own, and I would recommend to anyone the process of getting outside your comfort zone and going to a place where you know nothing, not even the language, and trying to become a part of it. I became part of a marvelous French family, Swazik's family, and the one thing we did have in common was Catholicism. You see, although my ancestors who came to New Zealand, and you saw in the photo of the Orofora River, were Albertlanders and very much Protestant, my parents taught in a Catholic school in the 1970s and 80s, and St. Mary's as it was, we're talking about Marists today, and they decided to jump the fence to become Catholic, much to the disdain of certain parts of the family, including an aunt who wrote to my father to say that not only would her mother be turning in her grave, she would be spinning in the grave if she knew he had become a Catholic. I'm taking the time to mention all of this as we progress. You'll see this theme of religious antagonism and competition was very much a part of the 19th century efforts to evangelize the known world, or at least the least known corners of the known world. After our wedding in 2005, of course, we brought all of my French family back here to New Zealand, and I took them on a French Catholic pilgrimage to Mototi on the Hokianga's North Shores via Tane Mahuta, of course, as any good tourist would. And for me, that was an important act for them. And here you'll see my wonderful parents-in-law on the ferry from Rawene across there. My father-in-law checking out the boat, my mother-in-law wondering, where on earth are we going? Where is he taking us? And that's good when you go to the Hokianga. You feel like you're going, somewhere quite unique, and it is true. Of course, we also went to Russell and the mission house, and this was really the beginning of an awareness that I had of what people like Pompallier had undertaken as they came to the other side of the world. And I wonder in hindsight whether this was a seed of admiration at the bravery of it, because at the time I was experiencing this myself as I discovered an unknown, known world of France, learning the language from scratch as a matter of life or death. And being able to understand what you're eating is very handy in France, for example. And trying to implant yourself on the other side of the world and get on in life. And I try to imagine what Pompallier and his brothers went through as they went to the other side of the world. Almost at exactly this time, we moved to a town called Puto, which is situated up there where all of the little stars are. On the other side of the Seine. It's actually on the end of Metro Line 1 at La Défense, which is the business and high-rise centre of the Parisian region, which is 12 million people. 12 million people in Paris makes a Kiwi 4 or 5 million feel very small. It's a short walk into one of the great parks of France, the Bois de Boulogne. And we got involved with the local parish. We raised our kids there for 15 years or so until we uprooted the family to come back to Whangarei in late 2021 after a good year and a half of being confined to an apartment on the 7th floor with 4 children. At the parish, ever the amateur historian that I am, I got to know a little bit about the town's history, and you can see the name Puto. I got involved in an event commemorating the 300th anniversary of our parish being declared a parish in its own right. Just let that sink in. 300 years since it became a parish. It was quite an occasion, and our parish used it as an opportunity to consider its history, its multiculturalism, particularly with the influence of Portuguese people amongst us, and its mission in order to collaboratively build a forward-looking vision of what could be achieved in the next period of its history. And while I was researching that, thanks to this book and other people mentioning it to me, I discovered that Pompallier had died and had been buried for 130 years in our town. I never knew. And in fact, if you look at the zoom on our neighbourhood, you can see that from our place in the top to his eventual resting site before he left France is exactly 1 kilometre. I had no idea. It's a 20-minute walk through the town centre and past our local church, which is Saint Mathilde. A mere kilometre between us and a historical stepping off point that marked the historic journey of Pompallier and his remains back to the Hokianga. And again, I know this is anecdotal, but I wanted to give you a sense of the excitement that history can take on, and particularly as you get a bit older and get fascinated by the links that make up our society. Here you can see these three members of the clergy holding a plaque which we will see in a moment. A mess in French is not a mess like my boys' bedrooms. It means a mass. The mess is certainly in the bedroom, and I wish they went to mass more often. But they are just after we left in December 2021, our parish priest celebrated the 150th anniversary of Pompallier's death in our parish with a special mass with these other members of the clergy. So the memory of Pompallier is very much alive. And here we get a close-up of the plaque that was left, complete with a spelling mistake for Nouvelle-Zélande instead of New Zealand on the second line. This plaque was given to the French Catholic community by those who came, a group of about 37 people, to hikoi Pompallier, their taonga, back, and their sacred person back to New Zealand. It recognizes the Church of France and its evangelization and the proclamation of Christ's message to peoples all over the Pacific, and in particular to Aotearoa, New Zealand. It was presented in January 2002, and it notes that it's on the occasion of the exhumation of the remains of Pompallier at the cemetery of Puto on his way for burial in Motuti. So let's now start. So that's the arc of the history that tells you why I'm even interested in it. It's time to learn a little more about my almost neighbour and how he came twice to our shores. So Pompallier, just a bit of historical sort of nuts and bolts. He was born in December 1802, after the French Revolution had happened, during the time of Napoleon Bonaparte. He was a son of a wealthy man from Lyon, which we're going to see shortly. His father died shortly before his birth, and he was raised in the wider whānau as a member of the gentry. So it was a very well-to-do family. Indeed, he worked in the silk trade in Lyon, and if you ever go to Lyon, you can see the vestiges of this industry, which is very important, including some marvelous underground tunnels going between streets, which were all part of the silk trade. And the silk trade, of course, echoes Lyon's connections to the rest of the world. It was a place of great voyagers and adventurers. And working in the silk trade as a gentleman was allowed. So he could do so without losing his status. And I'm quoting from this book here, which is a fantastic read in the library. Pompallier, Prince of Bishops, written in the early 80s, I think. What is certain is that the young Pompallier was well educated, well read, and charming. He was literary, he was master of language, and he had a very wide vocab in his own language of French. He became an impressive preacher and a great conversationalist in English. He was tall, handsome, he had long, lovely hair. That's the resemblance that I don't have. And he had pleasant, thoughtful expression and aristocratic bearing. He entered the seminary at the age of 22 in 1824, and he was ordained priest 5 years later in 2029. So he was mature when he became a priest. Lyon, the birthplace of the missionary movement, the birthplace of Pompallier, and the birthplace of the Société de Marie, the Marist Society, which we'll learn about shortly. Another great book that you can read. What you can see here is the Basilica of Notre Dame de Fourvière, so Our Lady of Fourvière. Up on the hill, you can see it from just about everywhere in Lyon. And as you can see, the view at the bottom, probably only about 400 meters away, there's another incredible cathedral. Who's visited France here? Okay, wow. So you're all francophiles, francophones maybe? Any French speakers here? Il n'y en a pas? C'est dommage. It's a great language to learn. As you can see, I'm in the Cathedral of St. John the Baptist just below. So this is the soil that Pompallier came from, steeped in this church influence. And indeed, I'll just go a little bit further with that, and on the left you can see a photo that I took of a display which I discovered in Pompallier House in Russell only recently. If you look carefully, you can see here Fourvière, which is near this is where the cathedral is. And across here you can see one of the relics that Pompallier brought with him. And further on the map you can see up here in the corner Les Chartreux, Église des Chartreux, the Church of the Chartreux, and that is this photo, a church that I've been into for my goddaughter's confirmation. So I didn't even know this until I started researching Pompallier, and it's like, wow, this guy's showing up quite a lot in my personal story. So in the 1800s, just to come back to why Pompallier was going. If you read a little bit about it, and there are many, many books about that period of New Zealand, you could say that there was a rising demand for contact with the outside world. And in particular, there was indeed, from certain quarters, a rising demand for a Catholic mission in New Zealand. By this stage, the Māori had been in contact with Europeans for decades, and indeed there was the beginning of a lot of trade. There was tobacco, of course there was guns, and that caused a lot of problems. Dwellings were starting to change. There were marriages and relationships with Europeans. And one thing very interesting that I discovered was that there was a very fast propagation of the written word. It was very keenly taken up, and the Protestant missionaries, so what you can see up here, Ohio Bay, which is where Marsden worked, the Protestants from the early 1800s were very keen and diffused a lot, and the Maori in turn were extremely interested in it and took it up to a point that, according to some of the books I've read, by 1838, when Pompallier actually arrived, there would have been at least one person in every village that spoke English and could read, which I thought was a remarkable fact, that it diffused to that point. So I'm not going to dive into questions of spirituality and how there was a confrontation of those ideas. Suffice to say that Pompallier's approach, as we will see, was to go very slowly towards the Maori beliefs and treat them with utter kindness, and then to incorporate ideas of the monotheistic religion into the everyday Maori practice. And they discovered a lot of those practices, and the Europeans arriving, and particularly the missionaries, were extremely interested in seeing how spirituality was incorporated into every aspect of Maori life. In particular, one which is probably dear to all of us, but it expresses itself very strongly, which is the attachment to ancestors, and the fact that ancestors are not gone once they are passed to the next world. They are still with us. And that resonated greatly, obviously, with the missionaries, who were able to create consistency and find followers.
You're listening to The Shelf, a radio show for Whangarei District Libraries on Beagle Radio 88.1 FM.
Yes, and coming up next we have an interview with one of our brand new librarians, Amber, and Karlie and I had the pleasure of sitting down the other day and having a chat with her about what it's like to be a brand new librarian and what her experience is so far.
Yeah. Kia ora koutou. We're so happy to be joined here by one of the newest members of the Whangarei District Library staff, Amber.
Yay!
Hello.
Yay.
Hello.
Firstly, we want to give you a really warm welcome and a big congratulations on your new role as Customer Services Librarian.
Thank you very much. I'm really happy to be here.
Oh, we're happy to have you. Yeah, I think the staff and the library patrons overall are really happy to have you on board. So really
thank you.
lucky.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Had good things already.
Yeah, already. So maybe I'll kick off with a question. What does a customer service librarian do day to day?
Well, we do a lot of things. We do all the things that you see us doing in the library, I suppose you would say. We do the shelving. We're at the desk helping you guys out with all your printing needs and issuing your books. We make sure that your returns get put on the return shelf. So, no, holds. We make sure your holds get put on the hold shelf.
Can you explain what holds are for those who may not know that term?
Absolutely. So when you want to grab a book from the shelves, but someone else has it out already, we can put that book on hold for you. And we have a lovely row of bookshelves that we put that on in alphabetical order by your last name. So you can just go straight there and grab the book when it's ready.
And how would I know my book's ready? Do I
Well,
get a phone call or?
It depends. So normally you would get an email if your email's all set up. Otherwise, we'll send it through in good old snail mail.
Snail mail.
Yeah.
I love it. Cool. And can you tell us a bit about your background if you're happy to do so?
Yes, absolutely. My background's really varied. So I originally did a Bachelor of Arts, but I did it in anthropology and ancient history. Now I'm working on my postgrad to be a librarian properly and do my papers. Work-wise, I was a business improvement specialist. So I did processes, I did training, I did system testing, we managed a knowledge base. So all of this was for a contact centre. So we did all of their knowledge base management as well. Did a little bit of everything. And then I've also done a bit of stuff on Facebook, volunteer management. And I was a car seat technician for Plunkett for a little while.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so if you need a car seat put in, I'm your person.
That brings back memories.
Yeah, so I've got a few different roles. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, here's a good question. What was your first impression of life behind the scenes at the library?
There was a lot more going on than I thought there was. So it takes quite a lot and quite a few different people to make a library turn around. So I suppose the customer service librarian side is what we all kind of envisage a librarian to be. So all the getting the books where they should be and making sure everyone's happy. But we also have a lot of busy little librarians doing cataloguing and acquisitions and letting things go and non-fiction and fiction and children. So I think my first impression was that there's actually a lot more involved than I thought there was, and that was awesome.
Yeah. Cool.
Right. Now, you were already a library user, I take it?
Absolutely. Yeah, my
Absolutely.
whole life.
Yeah. Great. At Whangarei Library or one of the branches, or?
Well, this is my library. So I live out a bit further south.
Right.
So this is my hub.
Yep.
And then when we lived in Auckland, we did the Whangaparao libraries, and we've always had a library.
Yeah, and we do many things at the library, as you alluded to, and it's surprising. What surprised me, because I could only sneak in in previous jobs to grab a book and out again, pretty
Yeah.
much, is how much happens at the library.
So many things.
There's so many activities. And what have you
Right.
seen so far?
Well, I think the thing that I loved, because I have little children, so it was the holiday stuff that they do with the children's librarian. So I think it was the cards that they did, the mythical creatures
mythical
cards,
creatures,
and
yep.
and then one holidays they did like art stuff. And
Yep.
They did something like Monet and
Mm.
yeah, so all of that sort of thing, and then all the stuff you guys do for the teens, the heritage talks. I didn't realise the Northern Room was a thing, so that's really cool. The genealogists and the volunteers. There's just so many things that
Yeah.
go on here. It's amazing.
Yeah. And what would you say was the thing you love most about this particular library?
I mean, it's the people I work with, guys.
Oh,
Yeah.
checks in the
Yes.
mouth.
Yeah. But no, it's you guys are all lovely. It's been a really welcoming, beautiful atmosphere to come into, and I suppose it's just getting to be with the books
Yeah.
every day as well. That's really
How cool
really
is that?
nice. Yeah.
The amount of times you find a book you would never normally look at,
Yes.
and you think, "Ooh, that looks interesting. I'll give that a try."
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's such a
kind
good
of
place to be for a reader.
Yeah, accidental recommendations
Yeah.
all over the place.
Yeah, like when you're supposed to be shelving, you're like, oh, I'll
Ooh,
take
that's
that one.
Yeah.
A lot of librarians have some odd hobbies or interests. Do you have any that you'd like to own up to? Join the club?
I don't know if it's odd or if it's just on brand, but I do bookbinding.
Oh,
Oh,
nice.
really?
Yeah.
You have to teach me.
Yeah, it's I'm in the beginning days, so
Yeah.
I've been doing it for maybe like 6 months to a year.
Yeah.
So that's like ripping apart a paperback and putting
Yeah.
like a hardcover cover on it, or stitching up all the paper to make a journal and stuff like that. And
Oh my god.
yeah, so I do that.
Oh, I would love to do that as well.
Yeah.
You better show me
Yeah.
some of your tips and tricks for that one.
Sounds like a future craft event
I
at the
should.
library.
There we go.
Mm.
Yeah, watch
Yeah.
this space, everyone. Yeah.
And do you go to a class to do that? Do you learn online, or is it just
That's all
the feel of
YouTube,
it?
my friend.
YouTube!
Yeah,
I-
YouTube tutorials for everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I have a few YouTube people that I follow that do really good, really clear beginners tutorials. So
Right.
I've kind of worked through.
Ah, okay. You're
Yeah.
gonna have to share those with me.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm a crafter too, so
Yeah.
keen.
Yeah.
Yeah, so would you be a fan of The Chase, with the guy stitches old books back together sometimes, and it's amazing. Have you ever seen him?
Yes, and I think which one?
He's a very quiet guy. He wears a cap, a cheese cutter cap, and a coat. I don't remember his name, but they bring him like Korans that have fallen apart, like hundreds of years old, and he does each page at a time, and he puts in this Japanese paper and stuff.
Yes,
Yeah.
so that's probably more along the lines of conservation.
Yes.
And that's what I wanted to get into as
Right.
well, but they don't do the courses in New Zealand. You have to
Ah.
go overseas to qualify.
Right.
So,
We have got a few old books here that could probably use
Yeah.
a bit of TLC, couldn't they?
Yeah.
well, I'm doing my postgrad going into archives, so maybe I'll learn something doing that. Yeah.
But then again, it's sometimes fun to keep a hobby just like
Yeah,
not
yeah,
work
really can't
related.
have too many crossovers. Yeah,
Although you do find your hobby encroaching its way
Yeah.
into work, or the other way around.
yes,
In fact, you'll notice Karlie does crafty stuff as well, and often appears in work
Yeah.
and the
Yes.
videos you do and everything
Yeah.
else like that.
Yeah, like last night I made a Harry McCleary t-shirt so I can wear it to fun time.
oh, I love
Yeah,
that.
it is
Oh.
very cute. Very,
You could
very
wear that
cute.
outside of fun times. Let's be honest.
Oh yeah, I probably
Yeah.
will.
Well, it's been lovely having you in for the session, Amber. And again, lovely having you at the library. And one of the things that really impressed me early on with Amber was when we worked a Saturday together. It was probably your first Saturday.
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're on your first Saturday.
Yeah.
And then I had this beautifully enunciated and pronounced announcement coming over the speaker, the library speaker, to say we were closing in X minutes, in both Te Reo and English, and very brave and very well, very professionally done. You might have a
Thank
future in
you.
radio broadcasting for all we know.
On the shelf.
I've got the face
Yeah.
for it. Yeah.
We'll keep you as long as we can.
Yeah.
Thanks, Eddie. That's lovely.
Yeah. All right, so we'll wrap it up there, but I'm sure we might have Amber back on the show again one day soon, maybe. We'll
That would
see.
be great. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks for
Amber.
coming. Thanks so much, Amber, for interviewing with us. And now we're back in the studio and we're going to talk about some upcoming events in
Hooray!
the library and around Whangarei.
And a big one coming up is Puanga Matariki.
Yes, so there's a series of events happening in the library and also outside of the library. We do have a booklet available at our libraries for you to check out what's happening, but maybe I'll give a rundown of the events that we've got in the works.
Cool.
So the first event and sort of the opening of the whole Puanga Matariki period at the library is Matariki at the museum. It's called Trilogy 3, which is a travelling exhibition of taonga from Kiwi North Museum.
Yep, cool.
Yep, and so that's going to be at Whangarei Central Library on Wednesday 24th of June between 9 a.m. and 1 p.m. So if you want to come and have a look at these precious taonga, it's a really worthwhile exhibit to come check out, and we're really lucky for that to be visiting our library.
Excellent, don't miss it.
Yeah, we've also got Constellation Banner workshops on Thursday 25th of June and Thursday 2nd of July, and that's in the early afternoon. More information will be on our website. We've got Mana Wahine Talks. So this is a series that we had the past couple of years. Our amazing multi-services librarian has organised some more wahine women to talk about their mahi, their creative endeavours, etc. So the first one is Sergeant Elise Lewis on Thursday 25th of June at 10 a.m. And the second one is Janet Hitaraka, Dr. Maya Hitaraka, and Aorangi Hitaraka on Thursday 2nd of July at 10 a.m. So all of this and more information will be listed on our website and in the little booklets you can pick up. But it's going to be really awesome to have this series happening.
Yeah, it's going to be a great one this year. Also coming up, we have on the 15th of June between 10 and 11, Between the Lines, which is a book spark chat over a cup of tea here in the May Bain room upstairs at the library. Really good for people who are perhaps struggling with memory or different health issues and so forth. Book spark chat over a cup of tea, Between the Lines, 15th of June.
Yes.
Also in June, it's National Flash Fiction Day.
Oh, cool.
On the 22nd of June. The event, there's an awards event being held at the Judge, formerly the Jovial Judge in Walton Street in Whangarei, in which people from all sorts of categories who have submitted a short story, a flash fiction or a microfiction to the National Flash Fiction Day, get acknowledged and read out their stories.
Oh, that's really awesome.
And yours truly is the host.
Yay! Oh, that's going to be
I think
so
they
cool.
asked me because I didn't place anywhere. My story just sunk straight to the bottom. But they have asked me to read it out, so I assure you it won't be as painful as the King's Ear.
That wasn't painful at all. I love that.
That's good.
We also have the Library of Cultures on Thursday 25th of June. This is presented by the Night Cafe Whangarei in collaboration with the Multicultural Whangarei. So they've arranged this to happen again at number 7 Espresso Cafe, which is located at the front of Central Library. This is a lively, welcoming space where you can meet people from around the world right here in Whangarei. So you pull up a chair and chat with our amazing culture guides, real people from around the globe who now call our community their home. So you can ask all the quirky questions, the big ones, the little ones, everything in between.
Yeah,
and that's
it was very successful last year.
Yeah, it was...
So yeah, that'd be great. We also have the Jigsaw Puzzle Exchange, always popular, Saturday the 27th, upstairs in the library in the May Bain room from 10 to 12. And yeah, come along, refresh your jigsaw puzzle collection, exchange your old ones for some newbies, bring in your pre-loved ones, swap them around. Every puzzle you bring, you get to choose one in return, and it's a great way to discover something new, find out a new series of puzzles maybe that you're interested in. So keep the fun going. Please make sure that your puzzles that you bring along are A, complete, no missing pieces, B, in the original box and are in good condition.
Awesome. So it's a really busy time at the library, a lot of fun
Yep.
stuff happening. For all of this event information and more, check out our website, our social media, all that usual stuff. So
Great. So, ka kite ana, it's been The Shelf, and we've been Eddie and
Karlie, we'll see you at the library.
see you there.